I'm excited to be here. Jay and I have had some great conversations leading up to today, just around the topic of sales coaching itself, how we approach it here at Arctic Wolf. And, seeing the range, Emily and Robin, you're down in the 1 and 2s. So hopefully this gives you some context and maybe material to expand sales coaching in your organizations. And for those of you at the top end, I saw David, Terry, Caleb, I think. I'm looking for you to chime in. If you're part of an org that's running a 5 out of a 5, I love to hear it. I would say I would self-assess right at a 4, just based on the strides that we want to take, but we are well on our way. And so I hope that today's conversation brings some nuggets for you to take forward in your organizations, and I would love to hear from you afterwards. So please find me on LinkedIn as well. With that, let's get started. This is essentially what's on my bookshelf right now. I have hit the bookshelf pretty hard since January 1st as a New Year's resolution. And I'm not going to get into all of these, but before I dig in, if you can just hit the chat and let me know what you're reading about today that may be influencing your sales enablement efforts. I would love to know what you're reading about. Oh, the talent code. Okay. I haven't read that one. I'm gonna write it down. Atlas of the Heart, not sales enablement. That's okay. Keep reading, keep learning. I love it. The coaching habit. Cool. Stories that stick, going for the storytelling. Empathy and action on the leadership front. Outcomes over output. Cool. I like it. Who was it? Sarah, you've read Wolfpack. Can't say enough great things about Wolfpack by Abby Wambach. It is a very quick read. I read it wheels up and wheels down on one of my trips. And, I read it from the lens of a mom. You can read it from the lens of the workplace. You can read it from the lens of being that my daughter's 9. And so it just really resonated on how to build confidence and come together as a team and communicate in the value of coaching. Abby, she was the captain of the U.S. soccer team. And so her story is in context of being the leader and also being on the bench. And those are tough conversations to have and be able to own it with empathy and with, the team spirit. So literally cannot say enough about Wolfpack by Abby Wambach. Amp It Up by Frank Slootman. It's pretty meaty. But essentially, we're in a hyper-growth organization at Arctic Wolf. For those of you who don't know us, we are in the cybersecurity space. We run across multiple segments and industries, and it does a nice job from a leadership perspective on finding ways to push the pace and the intensity of your organizations while maintaining the focus on quality. And the lever there is narrowing the focus. So we're constantly moving at a pace that is almost unmanageable, but being able to really seize that opportunity and still keep the quality, narrowing the focus is what has helped me communicate that to the team. Where I'm going to spend most of my time is in the middle of this the middle of the screen today, The Qualified Sales Leader and Medic. These are 2 books that we have actually doubled down as a sales leadership team here at Arctic Wolf, really to help us find a common language. So the Qualified Sales Leader is exactly that. It combines the role of the sales leader throughout the deal, QBRs, territory management, but what is the role of the leader to both inspire and inspect? And then also to really drive a framework. And that's where the 2 books between Qualified Sales Leader and Medic come in for us, is that Medic is now the qualification framework that we're going to be using as an organization. We soft launched it back in August. And now we're really operationalizing around the personas, the process, and how we drive our go-to-market motions and sales positioning, really around driving efficiency from a qualification perspective. And then the output that we're essentially looking for is improved forecast accuracy. So you'll hear some concepts from these two books kind of threaded out through today's conversation. Again, I would highly recommend these if you haven't picked them up. And so I'm gonna take Andy White first here and open this up to another chat. I'd love to hear what you think drives an elite sales performer. If you think through your organizations today, what behaviors, I'll give you behaviors and I'll give you attributes. How would you describe them as being an elite sales performer? Your top tier throughout your organizations. What comes to mind, or how would you describe them? Continuous learning and coaching, tenacious, consistent daily habits. I'll take it. Relentless curiosity. Sounds like you've read one of these books. Process driven, always qualifying, pain management, pipeline management. Listening, honesty, use of tools. Fully engaged with the prospecting client. Yeah, being kind. That curiosity. Okay, let's get started. So here's what Andy White thinks. These are the top 5 attributes that he assigned to elite sales performers. The 2 key behaviors that he linked to these are relentless qualifying. And that comes down to the process of qualifying in and qualifying out, and the value of the initial discovery call to drive efficiency in the sales cycle, efficiency in how we position, but also efficiency in what we chase. The other piece was the concept of being able to forecast accurately. And that comes down to the MEDDIC framework and being able to check your gut against each one of the categories within the MEDDIC framework to know where and how have I buttoned this up and with who, from a coach, a champion, or an economic buyer. From an attributes perspective, the intelligence he actually breaks down to a lot of what you just shared. Emotional intelligence, being able to create relationships with the buyer, the intellect itself, and then that curiosity. And that curiosity is what ties into the listening. The hardworking, he actually places a high value on hardworking. It can beat talent every time if we have somebody who is an absolute workhorse. And then the bottom 3 is where I saw this and I thought, wow, that is where sales enablement sticks, right? The always learning, the practice and the preparation and the process. The process for us will be a combination of sales processes, but laying in the qualification framework of MEDDIC. On the practice and the preparation, we have spent a significant amount of time in the last 9 months really working on tools and research to better prepare for our meetings. So how do we prepare? What do we research? And then what do we need to anticipate? And the anticipation is on the competitive landscape for us, and also on anticipating objections. And if we're able to anticipate objections through practice and preparation, we can pivot with more success. So this resonated to me because the bottom 3 here, always learning, practice, preparation, and process, dovetail directly from Andy White, directly into what we're trying to accomplish here at Arctic Wolf via sales enablement. Sales enablement for us is one hub that supports all sales motions, from our sales development team who qualify leads and set meetings, to our acquisition sales. We have a firm line in the sand. We then pass off to customer success. And beneath all of this, we have a channel sales organization and a sales engineering. All of that wraps in to sales enablement here at Arctic Wolf. And what are we after? We're essentially here to help drive sales readiness, effectiveness, and the productivity of the teams. And that's from the engagement and the retention of the teams, but also the customer-facing success. The customer-facing success for us all comes down to, this is how I kind of narrow the focus with my team and with our leadership on where we're going to invest programmatically from an enablement perspective. The customer-facing success has to be tied to one of 3 metrics for us. One is our average sales price As our portfolio grows, we're looking to drive our ASP. We run conversion rates by segment and by individual for the sales organization. So we're looking to pick up conversion points along the way. And then the third one, based on the hyper growth that we're experiencing, is time to productivity for a ramping individual. So onboarding effectiveness and how fast can we ramp to productivity. Beneath that, we strongly believe in our frontline sales management team. We are 75 wide now in terms of frontline sales management, and we believe that coaching is a key performance lever to driving both consistency and development. And that it's not about how the coach's style, but what the individual needs. And so coaching becomes very individual for the impact to be felt. And that's where we've really doubled down. This is what we stand by as a sales management team here at Arctic Wolf. This is from the qualified sales leader and John McMahon, but that our workplace culture, it's fast-paced, it is positive, it is very collaborative. We are a team-based sale more than any other organization that I've worked for, but that it lies with helping each other win, but then for them to achieve their personal goals as well. And we can't do that without frontline sales management coaching with enablement support. So this is what it looks like. This is what I've teed up for our conversation today. What is sales coaching? I'll give you a definition. There's many out there. I kind of break it down, as well as why should we invest? Where are we falling short? And then how can we make it more effective? Finally, before we get into breakouts, I will open this up so I can hear how you all are putting sales coaching into practice in your organizations. But I will share a little bit about how we approach it at Arctic Wolf, informally and from a programmatic formal perspective through sales enablement. And then we can break out and talk about it as in small groups. So with that, let's talk about sales coaching. Sales coaching, and I'm actually going to read it. Sales coaching is a process followed by the sales leaders to maximize performance and achieve sustainable success. The process is designed so every seller is supported and coached effectively to contribute to the team's ability to consistently reach or exceed quota. So you can see the thread in that great leaders don't coach everybody the same way. And this is the shift that we're getting, that we're making here internally right now. And I'll tell you why. We are a heavily metric organization. We run a sales scorecard at the rep level, team level, segment level, and sales organization level. And that gives a plethora, perhaps too many, data points on the performance of the seller. But because we've over-indexed, I don't know if over-indexed or we have too much data sitting in front of a sales management team, they're finding it difficult to coach the individual on where they need it. So we're breaking down the data points with each manager, and so that they can bring individual style coaching to the rep. And it's important because we find different behaviors. We can find where a new rep stalls in discovery and can't get out of discovery to propel the deal because they're not identifying or implicating pain. We can find where a proposal is lackluster in tying it to the business objective, and we actually get stuck in the middle of the cycle. Or our negotiation strategies are light, and we need to better understand the anchors and the end game with the customer, with the buying process and the criteria tied in, and that is a late stage coaching opportunity for our team. So the combination of the data and the unique seller is what helps us succeed here at Arctic Wolf. And that's tied to the culture. And I don't believe that the two can be disconnected. A coaching culture that sits behind this concept of sales coaching is one where coaching is accepted and used as a tool to develop leaders, and that those leaders then develop employees with the goal that all of the sales organization has a common language and they can effectively interact with one another in the work environment. There's a couple of things here that stand out to me. One is that the coaching is accepted. And that is what, just to the icebreaker that Jay led for us. You need to find some anchors in the organization who can help bring it up to speed if it's not there today, or if it's not widespread, or if there is not a common language. I will say that our culture is twofold here at Arctic Wolf. It is defined by the security and the compliance. We are in cybersecurity, so we take our employee responsibility and accountability for security and compliance very seriously. But then we balance it with the pace and the intensity. In a performance-driven culture, but that is team-based. So island-based selling doesn't work at Arctic Wolf. It is very much a territory sale that also includes our external channel partners. So the coaching must be accepted. We have to understand how it can take shape within a broader coaching environment, whether that's called company culture or sales culture. But these are just some things that I would consider if you're looking to get this started. I'm going to open it up again, and just, from those of you who have this going today, why have you, if you have insights or whatever you're seeing from how it's working today, why are you investing in sales coaching today? What's the outcome or the output that you're looking to achieve via coaching? Some of these are tough questions. It's hard to know why we would do it if we're going to have time, how we get it started. So when I look at why we invest internally, it's manyfold. First and foremost, perhaps it's to drive results. When we look at driving results, it's 3 criteria, right? That ASP, those conversion rates, and time to ramped performance. But when I look at a performance contribution like this, which we've all seen through performance management or other types of development opportunities, we're looking not only to move the middle, but we're also looking to retain and motivate the top. And I think that a coaching culture enables us to do that, because you can leverage the top in an effective coaching environment, but that you can also inspire the middle through sales scenarios and relevant sales coaching to move into the top quartile. It's also important that it's focused on the individual, so that it resonates and it's relevant. That's what we're after. But then why don't some managers coach, right? We've got pockets of wildly successful coaches, and we have some that are either coming up to speed or finding their stride here at Arctic Wolf. And there's all kinds of reasons for it. They themselves have not been coached, or they don't know how, or they actually don't know they're not coaching. They haven't had a strong experience in the past. They struggle to find time. There's all kinds of reasons why individual coaches may struggle on this front. New managers, we find here, new managers also struggle to find a coaching stride in the balance between performance management and coaching opportunities or coaching moments. And so we try to separate those through activities to help them find and create space with their teams, positive, trust-based, supportive space with their teams to guide them to be a coach here at Arctic Wolf. So let's dive in and look at what makes coaching effective. And I'll give you some examples of how we do this here at Arctic Wolf as well. If I look at what makes effective sales coaching today, it comes down to 3 things: the mindset, the style, and the opportune time to coach. So the coach's mindset and the rep or the player's mindset is critical. And the coach's style must be tailored to the moment and to the topic at hand and the rep, him or herself. We see, if you're struggling, for those of you who are in a 1, a 2, or maybe even a 3, if you can pinpoint areas where you can build skill competency opportunities, workshops, or other types of small group sessions to get coaches going, the mindset, the style, and the moment matter. I'll give you an example of what we're doing with our SDR team today. We have 45 SDRs, sales development reps. They are here to qualify leads, set meetings. They take a very high volume and convert at a strong rate today. 3 out of 4 of our managers are new, and the tenure is less than 12 months. We bench into 5 other opportunities in the organization, and every quarter we're promoting somewhere between 10 and 15% of the group into another sales role in the organization. So the churn is high, and the sales and the SDR management team is new. So we're building coaching opportunities to build their coaching style, and we are carving out coaching moments through workshops to do it together. So with that, we have 3 sales enablement team members who coach against live and mock sales scenarios. We craft them based on our won deals, and we conduct mock environments, mock sales scenarios where they are instructed to discover, conduct attention grabbers, and secure meetings. The coaching moments are actually when enablement is involved, they're not on the floor. So we actually do them in small groups so that we can learn and provide feedback without the pressure of a live moment. With this, we're able to standardize the rubric and the coaching style. So we went through 3 of these activities together. We then broke out with the SDR leaders and we said, what matters to you? How do we deliver a clear, concise message? How do we hook the prospect? And what are we looking for so that across the teams, we have a consistent, meaningful way to coach the team and we don't have 4 pockets landing within one rubric. We then when we coach, we have a panel of SDR managers who help provide feedback, and we have small groups. Yes, to create a little bit of pressure in the seat, but also to create consistency, and so that they don't start to spin, right? Too much coaching, too much feedback is hard to consume. So we've been able to do that via the rubric and via consistency in the coaching style. The mindset matters. So when we come out, I'll kind of frame one of those up for you. So when we come into a mock sales scenario, our SDR will conduct a 15-minute discovery against a mock persona in an industry with a pain that we're after. And afterwards, the most effective, thought-provoking feedback sessions that we have is when we actually ask them to start. How did you feel about it? What went well? Where do you want to focus moving forward? And then after that, we only pick 3 items across the board that we want to focus with in that opportunity. John McMahon is pretty firm in that, like, a rep can only take 1 competency or 1 piece of coaching to implement a change in behavior. We break it down by the opener, the meat, and the closing of the discovery itself to illustrate ways in which the SDR can improve. But by using open-ended what, why, and how questions, it gets them to think through how they delivered the message and where they were either hesitant or uncomfortable with the message itself, and where can we help them improve. These are indicators. I'm not going to go too much into this, but indicators of when coaching may not resonate. You may have individuals who are either having a bad day, they are stuck in their ways for a little bit, or they're in a tough, uncoachable category. Those require some critical conversations, but they might be stuck in their ways. They don't understand what coaching is, and they might perceive it as performance management as opposed to a development opportunity. You may see them being silent, defensive, their arms are crossed. It's our opportunity. We believe it's our opportunity and perhaps the greatest leadership challenge to overcome this. And I saw this in some of the chats. This is hard to do, right? With kid camp registration this morning and 45 members in the pit this morning doing cold calls, and we're coming off a strategy meeting yesterday. The sales coach must be present and focused on the coaching that's happening in the moment with no distractions. The same thing applies for the player or the rep themselves. We need to close the distractions. It's hard to do the Slack, the emails, the phone, the text, the walk-bys, the walk-ins, whatever it may be. If we're unable to be present and focused on the situation at hand and the person at hand, it's going to be very hard to deliver them a unique, personalized approach. Try to gauge if they're, teeing up to some of those tough indicators and not ready for coaching, and then be very concise about what you'd like to implement coming out of them. By asking some of the what, how, talk me through this, you keep the emotions out and you focus on the competencies of a clear, concise, differentiated message. This one's interesting to me. We look at both what makes a good coach. I spend a lot of time with our frontline management team, 75 wide. And we also spend a lot of time either skipping into the front line or team coaching with the front line. But what makes a good coach? It starts out with listening. It's very natural for us, at least in our coaching environments, to drill into where they need to improve. And if we're too direct, it becomes quite assertive, but to also point out the strengths. So when we have our scheduled mock sales scenarios, we lead with, talk me through, how'd you feel about it? Where did it go well? Where were you off the rails? And then we reinforce the strengths first and foremost. And then select the 1, 2, 3 areas to keep them accountable, so that is a stair step from each mock scenario and each live scenario. We're looking for stair step incremental improvements every time. On the flip side, this is how to be coachable. And it applies to all of us, right? Whether we're being coached or whether we're on the coaching side, the listening applies. Set goals, own the accountability, and that I hope that I myself and that my team sees the value in the coaching, so that we can level up consistently for us to out-hustle the market and out-hustle the competition. We talked a little bit about mindset. The second piece is the style. This is where the tone and the relationship and how you deliver it, the words, the tone, the style, come into place. People don't want feedback. Feedback tends to lean a little bit towards performance management, at least when I hear it. There's connotations there. But coaching, hopefully they've had a strong sports coach, life coach, health coach. There's coaches all around us that they've had a positive experience that will open them up to being at the table with us. I want to go into a couple of examples for you on specifics of how we coach. Before I do that, I want you to also think about your last, if you can just take a piece of paper, I don't need it in the chat. Take a piece of paper and write down your last coaching moment. Could have been for a teammate, a peer. It could have been for a direct report of yours. We're not going to share these out loud. So maybe you were being coached. You could even take it that way. You know, your superior or your manager was providing coaching to you. Write it down. And just apply one of these 4 to how that coaching moment revealed itself. Was it passive? Was it two-way? Was it two-way mutual conversation on the coaching side? Or was it somewhere in between? Somewhere in between, I'll give you some examples. That direct feedback, it's just like, here you go. This is what happened. Do better next time. Feedback sandwich, here's where it went great. Here's where you need to improve. It went great. Creating a sandwich. So just write down where and how were you either coaching or being coached, and which one of these was it? And then I'll give you an example.
Hey, Hannah.
Yeah.
Just when you have a chance, one of the questions that was given was, when training your managers on how to coach effectively, are the trainers past salespeople?
Are the trainers passive?
Are your trainers, your coaches, past salespeople? Was the question that was asked.
Passive people?
No, I'm not. Were they sales?
Were they former salespeople?
Oh, were they past salespeople?
Former.
Oh,
thank you. Yes.
Were my training managers? This is a good question. Were my training managers past salespeople? I got it. Sorry. Our sales enablement team is structured by go-to-market motion. So we act as enablement hub for the common process, methodology, and language and tools, right? We're based on Seismic and Brainshark. Those are our enablement tools and platforms. We want consistency across the entire organization as we scale globally for all sales roles. The way in which our enablement team has been built is that we have an enablement leader. It acts like a business partner or a sales partner to each one of our sales teams. So Erin leads customer success. I'll use a couple of examples. Erin leads customer success sales enablement. She was a prior customer success manager and account manager in prior roles. She then dovetailed into her training role, and so she combines the sales experience with the training. It's hard to find for every role, but we have held to find the right profile of both sales experience and motion with training experience. Our sales engineering is the same. My head of tech enablement was a prior sales engineer, and then he moved into a training role, and now he can help us sell technically, scope, demo, and close. So they do have training experience. I do look for, when I hire to the enablement team, I am looking for experience in creating source training content essentially from scratch. Some level of instructional design or curriculum design so that we can roll out pre and post activities to reinforce the competency we're after. And then I do look for some level of coaching. And coaching can be that we can train on that, but I need the facilitation and the delivery experience to be able to stand up in front of a group and run a mock sales scenario or a lab of some sort. So it's a blend. Our frontline sales managers do not have training experience. So we have a wide mix of people who have not been in management before, have been in management, are still finding their way as a coach, or are lead the pack from a sales coaching perspective. And it is there and it is strong. And we look for them to help us set the standards internally from a sales management perspective. Does that help?
Thanks, Hannah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So basically, Hannah, you're saying that there's a lot of domain knowledge experience on your team helping with this process.
There is, yeah.
Which is great. I mean, that's really critical. They understand the context, the universe, how things work. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we've really, because of the investment that we've made in the last 9 months in sales enablement, I was fortunate and grateful enough that they were able to give me a leader by function, because how you coach a sales dev rep on opening a call, landing, dropping the hook and landing a meeting is very different from an account manager who has an established book of business and is managing the renewal, the upsell, and the churn. And so the enablement leader that goes into those spots has experience in seat.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. And I have a stellar team that has come together. So it's an exciting place to be right now for sure. So let's look at it. I'll give you 2 examples. Again, I won't spend too much time on this, but employee is pitching the solution. We reset annually. I'll get to that in a minute from an annual certification perspective, but employees pitching the solution are dangerous, right? These are the people who love the feature and the function. They tend to skip the discovery. They overlook the value-based outcomes, security outcomes that we're after, and they love to tell you like what each product does. So that's it. You're going into this, you hear the feature and function, they ripped through the data sheet. Here's what feedback might look like. The direct feedback. You stumbled when it came to describing the product's value. Focus on the value next time. Get it right. Okay. Feedback sandwich. The product features look great. You struggled describing your value. Work on this. Great job on the features. Bookends. And then the coaching style. This is where it's really hard when you know where the hiccup is to start with the question. I can tell you're a pro. You've got the product features down. You hesitated when it came to explaining the product, the value of the product. Help me. What might help you get through that section more smoothly? Leave it up to them. Okay, cool. I also want to layer on this sample video from Joel. Practice it, describing it in a similar way, and we can help you level up. Lead with what works. Outline the hesitation and ask a question on how they're going to help you overcome what you just heard. Oh, this one. I love this one. We use Brainshark. Brainshark does a nice job in many coaching opportunities to get a concise practice section in. When you come out of the practice session, you can see, wow, they had a 9% filler rate. Brainshark tells us that. 9% filler. They love to use awesome, kinda, I sorta. You name the filler word, it's there, and it is dominant. Direct feedback. You kept saying this. I couldn't focus. Fix it. Feedback sandwich. Your guidance was strong. It was overshadowed by your filler words. It was distracting, but your explanation was accurate. Bookending it. Or the coach approach. I'm heading into, at 11 o'clock, I told Jay this, at 11 o'clock, we're running a 5.5-hour lab, 30 minutes a piece. A sales team is coming in. They get a mock sales scenario, 20-minute dry run, 5-minute feedback. We rubric it, and the next one comes in 30 minutes. I have to work on this one. So the timing of looking at feedback styles and what the sales scenario is, the coach approach, whenever somebody uses 36 times, it's an indicator that you're uncomfortable with the material. How could you get more comfortable so that you use less filler words? Sam, I'm confident that if you practice this, your filler words are going to come down. Right? The discomfort and how can they get over it? But you can see the difference and the emotional reaction a rep would have from the direct to the coach approach. In the end, it just comes down to having trust at the core of the coaching moment. And this is where the mindset, the style, and the timing have to come together. And the alignment between the sales managers, enablement, and the rep themselves have to be cohesive, and the culture underlies most of this. The hardest part here for us is new hires. We don't have the relationship. They are unsure of the coaching environment. They may have negative feelings coming into coaching environments. We set the stage pretty hard in week one. Week one, new hires in our sales organization, they do have to pitch. They have to pitch the elevator, and they have to do a small group practice mock discovery. It's a 30-minute pitch at the end of week one, but it instills this coaching opportunity and the role of management and the role of enablement to help them land at a clear, concise message. So let's put it into practice. We're going to go into small groups in a minute. But for those of you on the call who are looking for ways to implement something on the coaching side of the house, there's different ways to do it. And I'm sure there's more than this. And we're going to get into that in the breakouts. We have to be thoughtful, meaningful, and seize opportunities to find coaching moments. Whether you're an enablement or you're a frontline leader, it is a shared responsibility. And I see these first two, the ongoing informal moments and the ongoing scheduled moments. These are leader-led opportunities, and they must embrace the opportunity at hand. Call coaching, shadowing, drive-alongs, meeting recaps. These are all informal moments. If the mindset is there, take it. Scheduled, one-on-ones. We're all familiar with them. At Arctic Wolf, we run 2x2s. We run team sales, so there's 2 leaders, 2 reps on, most likely a shared territory of some sort, and we are tackling the territory as a team. QBRs, team deal reviews, team forecast reviews. These are scheduled moments that have to be thoughtful and have a process around the coaching at hand. The third one, which I'll take you through, is the programmatic approach, and this is where enablement leads for us. This is an annual message certification, and it's a targeted opportunity from the top down across all customer-facing roles. Everybody in the organization does it. And I will tell you that I certify in our message every year, and I have to certify to our chief sales officer, and I sweat, and I am nervous, and I feel the moment, but we all are in the moment, and every leader certifies on the message before our reps certify on the message. And it's a way for us to illustrate the behavior that we're looking for at the front line. And so we are after a clear, concise, consistent, differentiated message every year when we reset at SCO with our value proposition and our market drivers. When we look at our reps themselves, your role is to use the new materials. Own the change, practice the message. And in BrainShark, it's lovely because I can see how many practice sessions they did before they submitted their final cut, which is pretty cool. And you must record your pitch and identify where and how you can improve. The transcription and the AI that it gives you, they get immediate feedback. But then as a leader, you must certify before anybody on your team certifies. You must coach to the standard, provide timely feedback. And our goal here is to raise the bar and stair step up at every opportunity at hand. We have a ton of fun in this. We have best in class messages every year. We had 5 award categories this year, and we throw all kinds of crazy things at them in addition to the ego and being up on the stage, which they all love, and it's a throwdown. But essentially, we gave solo stoves, we gave s'more packages, and we personalized s'more sticks to every single one of our winners, and they love it, right? There is a lot of hype around it. We make it a lot of fun, and it is a supportive, development-based opportunity for them to be best in class. I'll give you a view of what this looks like from BrainShark. I'm not going to go too far into the tools, but I think it's pretty slick. They view, practice, and record their message. In this first, they get a machine score. This person got an 85. They can see their filler words, their duration, their rate of speech, so that they can see their speech patterns and how they can improve them. I'll give you kind of a cool example. One of my strongest sales leaders in the organization gave his pitch, and it was our new product offering last year. And he was at the bottom of the stack rank for our leadership team. And he came in and he was in my face and he was, what is this BrainShark thing? Like, I can't believe it was. I was like, cool. This is why we're doing it. Let's take a look at it. Let's check to see what the system said, right? I can tell the system what I want to hear, words I want to hear, words I don't want to hear. It will identify the filler words. It will talk about the rate of speech. I said, let's just check it out. Let's see what it told you. We pulled up his transcription and we pulled his filler rate, and he was white as a ghost. And I said, Ben, your filler rate is through the roof. What happened? And he was like, I didn't know the message. And it was his discomfort in the new message that led to a high filler rate. And he was in shock at what he can take away from that and how he can then leverage it with his team. He got on stage for SCO and he presented for an hour, and I chicken scratched 2 filler words in an hour. And I went up to him and I said, this is not an issue where you had 2 filler words in an hour. And he was like, I landed the message. And I said, exactly. right? This is the style and the delivery and the punch of what we deliver in the market. And this is why practice matters. So the leadership role in this is critical. But it works. We've set the standard and now we certify every year. It's coming up in May and we're getting pretty darn excited about it. With that, I wanted to break out into some small groups. And I think Jay and Mark are going to help me make this happen. We're going to go into some small groups. We'll actually only take about 10 minutes for the small group itself. This is what I want you to base your conversations on. Share your sales coaching reading. Talk about where and how your sales leaders coach today or your enablement teams and what tools and activities can you foster or take from others that are best practices for you to consider in your own organization. All right. I want to spend a little bit of time debriefing. We had quite a few breakouts, great group today. Is anybody willing to give a recap or talk about some of the tools or activities that came up in your discussions?
Group 3 talked a lot about the change curve and adaptation. So that was one thing that was really value added from that group, and anybody else can speak up too if they've got something, but those were some key takeaways in making sure that you're introducing a new program in the right way, and then managing that bell curve, that change curve.
I think it's important topic, right? I didn't really talk about change, and it can really shut people down, or you need to give them time to get through the change, the impact of change itself before the coaching can start. I don't know where your conversation went, but it's an interesting topic, just given our pace for sure. Go ahead.
We also talked about, I think that was the group that I was in, was like specifically the tool, like Brain Shark, and how that was introduced. Because, sometimes people can be, they're kind of, this is the way I do things, or maybe they're used to talking to their coach, but like bringing in metrics and how they react to that. And, some people are all about data and some people are like, data does not define me. So we were curious how that tool also specifically was integrated or introduced.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So throughout the pandemic, I used Cornerstone as a way to train the sales team. It's still used. It still has a very relevant place within our organization. And, the limitation for me on the enablement side is that it just is one way. So I could do a lot of push trainings. I could send my competitive training, our industries, our go-to-market messages, but it was all pushed one way. And so when we looked at Brain Shark, we looked at it for the coaching activities, the two-way conversations, and to get us in from a paradigm shift, getting from the 1 hour to 1 to 2 hour massive training efforts into bite-sized, course-based micro lessons. And so it helped us on two fronts, the coaching side and also how we structure our training itself. When we introduced coaching, we actually introduced coaching at an annual certification with the launch of Brain Shark at SCO. So it was the first experience that they had. And again, it was top down. Our leaders certified before the reps. We shared the leader boards. So every single one of our leaders, they gave their pitches, they got rated, and we took the top ones. It's a challenge in onboarding, and it's effective that when new reps come in, they want to hear what the best reps are saying, what the best reps are doing, how they pitch their value prop. And it gives us a way to capture these and to post them so that new hires coming into the organization can go and check out the leaderboards in each one of these topics. We are very selective. I will say it is hard. It is pressure-based, and practicing and recording and sending it is tough. And I do it, and I know how it feels, and it's brutal, but I get better every time I practice. And that's that's what we're after from a sales hustle perspective. We are very selective on when we use it. So we use it for our annual certification. We use it for new hire to certify on the message and to give their elevator pitch. And we use it for role-based checks. And I can give you a couple of examples of that. For our sales engineering team, it will become a key tool for demo scripts. How to give the demo and the script to use is tough, right? There is finesse and art in that, and they use BrainShark coaching, micro lessons to get their demo script down because there's a message and a format and a way to deliver that. And we have a career plan in place for our SDRs. So when they start prepping for their next role, it's such a heavy lift from a management and enablement perspective that we ask them to go do coaching on what we call mini certs. So we have maybe 4 or 5 slides of our go-to-market message that you must land. And there are nuances and key themes and features that we want them to communicate with effectiveness. And so they mini certify 1 slide at a time. It is too difficult to run the script front to end to know whether they are landing it and whether they're breezing through key points. And so they use mini certs to really land specific value prop messages for us. But we use it selectively. Like we are not, coaching via BrainShark every week. There is an exhaustion point to that as well. Okay. I'm trying to keep up with the chat. Again, Seismic and BrainShark, it's a great combo for us. A Lego, Mind Tickle, Lessonly, there are really great tools out there to get into a coaching environment that is supported multimedia, right? You don't know whether live coaching, small group coaching, large group, offline learning, people learn in different ways. And this is one tool to help us do that essentially at scale. With that, I just want to leave you with a few ideas to consider. These are ways in which we coach to micro messages or we train against the core concepts. I would encourage you to look at role-based skill development. It's one way that we can really tailor the relevancy and meaningfulness. When we do that, we ask them to come to the table with examples of how they're prepping for calls, account reviews, QBRs, recruiting a partner. And then we look at ways in which we can make competitive market and product positioning bite-sized. Can only take in so much. So we're moving to that paradigm where we're doing micro lessons, role-based curriculum, and mocking up the sales scenarios for them to apply what they've learned and apply new behaviors, new questions, new impact questions, discovery questions, or ways in which to create rapport with the person on the other side of the phone or the table. This is just ideas to consider. And with that, I want to thank you for your time today. I'm happy to open it up to questions that you may have for the broader group or myself specifically. And thank you for hanging with me for 75 minutes today. I appreciate that and the opportunity from Fredrickson Learning for hosting me.
Hannah, we've got a question from Rich Braden. Do you ever evaluate a sales call dialogue within the context of role play and not just an individual?
In the context of a role play. Explain that one to me.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, given the fact that you're probably selling solutions and not transactions, the real sales call occurs when they're talking to others and involved in a dialogue with somebody, and versus just a pitch. So pitch would not be necessarily what people do. So do you use that as the context of your coaching evaluation, or is it merely just messaging to see if they get the words right? But like you said, script.
So there's definitely a script, but we really encourage them to own their own story and their own talk track. So our best in class winners are actually the least scripted from an on-point message perspective. The piece where we have really had to double down, I would say it's two pieces. One is discovery. And discovery is both live coaching. Our frontline managers spend a lot of time on calls with reps themselves. The discovery is where they have to learn to pivot. And for us, they pivot on the pain, the landscape, and the outcomes that the customer is looking to achieve. And if we can land those three things, we can then craft where we can take them from a positioning perspective and whether we qualify that deal in or out. But the pivot comes live. And that's the hardest piece. So when we work with new reps in onboarding, new reps, new SEs, and new SDRs have a shadow criteria that they need to be on shadow calls with lead reps or with mentors to hear the live dialogue because it can't simulate the mock scenario.
Yeah, so that was my follow-up question. So this application is done in the field with a mentor, if you will, observing the actual call and then getting feedback accordingly, I would assume.
Yeah, so that's where those informal opportunities, the live coaching, attending meetings, and proposals. So one is the discovery. I said I had two items. The discovery and the proposal is where we're building the business case. And that's where the sales manager is inserting him or herself to help shadow, lead, or be an executive sponsor on the deal. And that's where the live shadow opportunities come into place.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Hannah, you're getting lots of thank yous for a wonderful session. And so if there's no more questions, I'll add to the thank you.
Of course.
Oh, here's one. Tips for coaching the managers to be good coaches.
You're looking for tips for coaching? I'd have them read this qualified sales leader. Qualified sales leader, we actually asked every single one of our frontline sales managers to read this before our last management meeting. We get together twice a year. It's an opportunity for networking, for cohesion, for understanding who else is within the organization and that we can call each other when we have a prospect issue, a territory line issue, a customer sat issue, that the broader ecosystem can help us get through it. It matters to get together, but then on the flip side, that's where we find our common language. And we just came out of it. We asked every single frontline sales manager to read The Qualified Sales Leader by John McMahon. And he puts it in such framework where he has different sales leaders and he has sales reps. And you start to understand how different teams are working and where they each can level up and their role in the common language and their role to inspire and to inspect. They have to play both sides of this. And they did the introspection via the book club. I know it sounds crazy, but we did ask 75 frontline sales managers to read this because we had to get to the common language, and they all found where their strengths were and where they wanted to improve. And we did a lot of group activities, small groups and segment level, team level breakouts to really hone in on what mattered in that book and where they have the opportunity to be the coach as a frontline sales manager. It moved the needle in a huge way for us. We're really excited about it. We're just coming off 2 weeks of it.
Great. Sounds like a wonderful book. We'll make sure that we get that in the thank you as well, as well as the recording. Any final questions from Hannah before we let everyone go?
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Great session, Hannah.
Thanks.